Welcome to Coach SG and Friends, where we discuss topics that help you have a better relationship with yourself and others. I am Coach SG, otherwise known as your joyful friend. I'm a relationship coach and life mentor, an entrepreneur and speaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but originally from Brooklyn, New York. I love great music, deep conversations, and inspiring people to live their best emotional lives and create their most amazing love story. Let me introduce you to my two friends, Janessa Rose and Lisa Miranda. Janessa is the CEO of Motivational Monsters, a nonprofit that helps people activate mental health and emotional well-being through creative arts. She is the author of How to Stop Being an Effing Bum. BUM stands for Broken Urban Mentality. She's been dubbed the Tony Robbins / Cardi B of motivational speakers, and she calls herself the Galactic Goddess. Lisa Miranda is an actor and creative director. She's also dabbling in producing. She is based in Miami, New York, and Paris. She is a world traveler who speaks several languages, who loves life, good people, and good conversation. So we want to welcome you to our podcast. Let's get started. All right, so welcome back. So today we're going to talk about how to follow your bliss when you don't feel blissful. And I just think that's a good topic for right now. I think, sometimes the holidays bring us down for whatever reason. There's multiple reasons why, but I want to talk about how do we move through that how do you follow your bliss when you're not feeling so blissful? So I'll let you start, Lisa. Oh, and we must share with our listeners that Janessa is not here today. She's working on her foundation, and she'll be with us for the next podcast. We miss her, but it's just going to be Lisa and I today.
So that means no science, unfortunately.
I'll add a little science here and there.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think this is such an important topic because it's so tied to our purpose and our mission here to be happy, to feel good. And sometimes we get in the habit of feeling everything else except, joy and satisfaction and pleasure. I know for me, those words were even kind of strange, right? Like I thought if I got my to-do list done, I needed to go into like the next day and I needed to always be pushing and grinding. And I didn't realize that was fair. That was everything but what I needed to feel. I wasn't patting myself on the back and being thankful, even because I wasn't celebrating my life. So yeah. I think it's important to create a schedule sometimes about when you're going to allow yourself to do something fun that you love, creating room for spontaneous things to happen, for adventure, and saying yes to when life presents you with amazing opportunities. I know for me, I was just talking to Cheryl about not knowing what the next step is, but trusting that you could take one step in the direction that feels good, and then the other steps are going to appear for you. And I think learning that has really helped me have more faith in my life, because now I believe, okay, the next step is going to present itself at the right moment, and the next step, and the right people and the right places and the right circumstances. So I think it's very powerful to not just, believe it, but allow it to be part of your life so that you can feel excited and grateful and blessed.
Yeah, I love that. And, one of the things that you talked about, and I had some things down today about what are some things that help me like stay blissful. And one of the things you mentioned is about, just having faith and I call it just being guided, just knowing that everything is working out for me. And I even when it seems like it's not working out for me, it is. And it's always working in my favor. And I don't have to get panicked, because I would get into panic when things would happen and I felt like I had to go and fix things and all that. And now I'm just like, you know what, everything is working out and I can get past it. I know the other thing too is I had to pick a new belief, and the belief was that I deserve to be happy. I don't know. I know it seems really simple, but I didn't. I just thought life, if you struggled more, it was more virtuous in some way. If you worked harder at it, then it was better. But I'm tired of the struggle. I'm tired of the hustle. I'm tired of the not feeling so great. I really believe that I can feel great most of the time, but I didn't know this before. So I had to pick this new belief that I could feel great most of the time. And once I picked that belief and I believed it and I went with that, it kind of shaped the rest, of my life. So once I knew that I deserved to be happy, I made different choices. I think the other thing I did is I gave myself permission to slow down. I was a hustler, like, not hustler like in the streets, but but I worked really hard, and I read some of my old journals, and I was a workaholic. My friends, call me at work, used to call me a workaholic all the time. And it was like a badge of honor, kind of. And now I'm done with the workaholism. I really want to be really happy most of the time and really blissful. And not that you can't do both, but I just really, I had to stop working so hard so that I can focus on working hard for being joyful first, and not on jobs and things and all that stuff, but really on my spirit. So have you slowed down?
Yes, I actually love how you said how you deserve to be happy. When I compliment people on like their wins now, I used to say, oh, you deserve that, or I'd hear that a lot. I stopped saying that because I don't want to keep perpetuating this idea that that you deserve things because of your labor, because I think that contradicts your worthiness. So I've just stopped. And when I hear it, I kind of cringe a little. You deserve that. No, you deserve it. And I'm like, I'm worthy,
I love that.
And I think the slowing down, I had a hard time with that. I remember I once said to you, Sherelle, that in between doing what I needed to do, it was a great opportunity to sit down and cry. And then here's the thing. Then when I got busy again, I'd be really tired because I spent so much time feeling like shit, for no reason. Not that there is ever a good reason, but just comfortable with the fact that I was not honoring myself. So I think there's something really powerful in slowing down to let things go, but not being fearful that you're going to let your responsibilities fall out of your hands. Maybe you'll let responsibilities that aren't yours fall out of your grasp, and that's okay. Maybe you let go of things, you shed things, a whole lot of things. They might be uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you're letting go of things that you're not letting go of yourself. I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't have to worry about getting lost, you losing yourself when you lose things that don't serve you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see it with a breakup where you're like, oh, if I break up with this person, who will I be? What about my kids? What about my friendships? Like, you might lose a lot of those comforts or those relationships, but you're not going to lose who you are. You're not going to lose your essence. You're not going to go so far in feeling good that you end up being a bad person. And I think, no, there's a lot of judgment tied to feeling good. It's like sinful to feel good, to be happy. Why are you happy? There's so much to be unhappy about. There's a reward in the afterlife. My mom says that she does all these deeds, like she'll help people that make her feel uncomfortable constantly because she thinks it secures her place in heaven. And I tell her, first of all, it's not even biblical. It's not deeds. But even so, why do you think you have to spend this life doing things that make you feel awful in order to be rewarded later? Why can't you feel good in this life too? And doesn't compromise your morality. I never thought that.
Yeah. I think it's, when we talked about beliefs, this is when, you got to choose beliefs that work in your favor and don't work against you. And having these beliefs, I had a belief that the more action I took, the more I was worthy, the more value I had. And, so if I sit around and I listen to Abraham and I write, I feel lazy and unproductive, but really I'm happier, I feel better. And so I don't know why I need to do these things. It's because I compare myself to other people. I believe that, I believe that what they think of me matters. And I've made other people's feelings of me more important than my own. So I love that. And I think a lot of, religions believe that you're blissful after you die and not while I believe heaven is here. And the more I look at the clouds and I look at the sky, I feel so like I feel crazy sometimes, but I just believe that the universe is beautiful, and I feel like there's heaven on earth if we make it. And so anyway, I'm rambling.
No, you're not. What you just said about your work, your inner work, your ritual work, being such a big part of your work. I went from not having any ritual to now people take that more serious than my like acting work. Like I make it so clear that in the morning I'm doing this ritual stuff, that if I miss an audition, that's less important than me not doing my mirror work. It's so fixed. Oh, I don't want to bother you. I didn't call at that time, or and I'm like, good, thank you very much for respecting that. This is very important, but it's also because they think I'm crazy. Since I'm not on medication, it helps me regulate. I'm dead ass, but that's okay. Whatever beliefs they have to hold to respect that time is important. Yeah.
And I've added that in my relationship because, before I didn't get up and meditate and write, at least not in a routine way. And now I do. So, it's really important that, the relationship I have now, it's just normal. So she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're doing your meditation. I'll talk to you after. Like, it's just known because that's what I do. That's how I reset myself. It's also, it makes me a good person. Makes me happier. We engage a little bit better. You can tell the days when I don't, I'm a little bit more irritable. I just feel a little bit off balance. So that's another thing that I do, is that I get, not only did I give myself permission to slow down, but I learned how to nurture myself. I think that's the other thing that I'm not sure that I knew how to do that before. I thought nurturing myself meant like massages and getting pedicures and, and getting some sleep. But now I know that nurturing myself means that, I focus on what I appreciate. I give myself what I need at the time, whatever it is. And I don't care who believes that I shouldn't have that at the time, but I focus on those things. And a lot of times that's alone time. It's, I need to write. I need to go, see family, or, I need to, I don't know, meditation, whatever it is. I've learned to give myself what I need at the time and not be angry when somebody doesn't give it to me.
That's so funny, because when you said your day is different when you don't meditate, you feel it. I have whenever I share a story that I recently partook in some activities, some violence that I'm not proud of. I always start the story with, well, I didn't meditate that day. That's always how I didn't have time to meditate. And then this is what happened. And it's just so funny because when you start off, I didn't meditate today, no one's going to expect. And then I fought in the streets. But I also love what you were talking about, nourishing myself. I noticed that nurturing myself, like you, means a wider range of things than what I'd hear from society before. And sometimes it's giving myself permission to do, or something that, I just decide, oh, I couldn't afford, I didn't have to do right now. I'm not sure what the results would be. Like anything where there's a voice telling me, or whisper like, you don't really have to, or you really shouldn't. But when I decide, I confront that and I say, no, actually, I will do this. Something feels so powerful. Like I've said yes to things recently, for me, like things that are helping enriching my life, that I'm so glad. And now I'm like, you know what? I could have paid 3 or 4 times that amount because of the value it's adding to my life. So I think that's very powerful, because especially if we have families and kids and, and a lot of financial responsibilities, it's very easy to say, I can't afford it. It's not the right time. I don't have the time, etc. also with nourishing myself, when I've started apologizing less, and because what I would do sometimes, I would apologize. I know I would make a statement. I would decide something wasn't right for me, and then I kind of apologize for making the other person uncomfortable, or for how I feel, or how this is affecting them. Letting go of that humongous responsibility of managing other people's emotions. Oh, that's so nurturing, and I recently, I was making a statement. I was changing something in my life, and I got to the point where I said, this is the part where I now apologize and explain and do all of this other stuff. And then I said, I'm not going to say anything. And I realized that I used to cry in the apologizing. I would get all emotional, even if I'm doing what I want. Even if I'm breaking up with someone and I'm saying, well, this isn't good for me, and now I have to apologize because that's part of my thing. And then I'm gonna cry. And the other person's just there, with a straight face. Right. And then I realize, okay, well, what if I just don't apologize in those kind of situations? Just don't apologize. This is what I want. This is what's good for me. And everything changes after, man.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I didn't even write that down. It's one of my things, just not being responsible for other people. It just takes a weight off of you. But it also makes you accountable for your own feelings. And so I don't have to manage them. They don't have to manage me. And now I can take care of myself, and I can stand up for what I need, and know that it has nothing to do with them. So I love that. I think, not being responsible for other people's feelings. And I want to say it in a way that it doesn't feel dismissive, so I want to kind of reiterate, it's not really about like not being mindful of others. It's just not taking on their emotional baggage. However they're responding to you is not your, it's not your doing, that it's their own. So you don't have to be responsible for it. You just can be mindful of their triggers, and that's it. But it takes a huge weight off of you. So you don't have to feel guilty and sad about, stuff that you need for yourself. So I love that. Thanks for reminding me.
And even trying to heal from the emotional things you're going through, but also trying to figure out how to not trigger or hurt or affect somebody else. It's too much. I don't know how you can be successful at it. You just hurt yourself more and more and more. So I think it's so healing to just be like, I'm really just in charge of me. Now let me, and it's scary too, but I noticed that once you stop worrying about other people's emotions and how they feel and even how they see you, then it makes comparing your life to others, something you might do less frequently, or less powerful, or less important or significant. So I think once you kind of start to eliminate some of these things that don't make you so excited about your life, now you have like this whole new like platform to fill up with what things really make you shine, and really highlight where you're good at and where the areas you want to grow in. And then when you're like, for me, when I feel like I'm in my zone, I'm aligned, I'm excited about doing something, I'm not comparing myself to anybody, period. It doesn't matter their age, their accomplishments, their relation to me. I mean, I don't care. I feel so good. But when I'm just looking at what other people are doing, or wondering what they think of me, I'm getting further and further away from valuing me, or acknowledging my triumphs and my victories.
Yeah, I love that. I think, I had to stop doing that. I'm still not great at it. I'm a whole lot better than I used to be, but I really tried to minimize the comparing myself to other people, and especially timelines, because I'm a little bit older, so I go, oh, at this age I'm supposed to be this and that, and and then I look at other people, and then I go like, what, like none of that. All it does is it sets me back. It makes me feel worse, and there are no timelines. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. And when I compare myself to other people, unless I'm comparing myself to kind of gauge where I want to be, but not like they're better than me and I'm behind and all that stuff. It just adds more baggage to, to my sadness. So I stopped, I really learned how to stop. Like, once I know that I'm in it, like I know how to shift it really quickly. So love that.
With timelines, I've started looking at them a little differently. Something interesting with timelines that I'm using, I'm using timelines to help me understand what I really want, as opposed to setting hard dates for accomplishing certain goals. And then also, like, I did what I was supposed to do. Maybe I'm not even going to celebrate. I don't need to celebrate doing what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I used to talk to myself like that. I don't do that anymore. But I'll give like a quick little story about I guess resolutions, New Year resolutions. I had like January 1st, I was in like an acting class on Zoom, and we weren't acting that day. We were just going through, the things that we want in our life in 2021. And my coach said, just whatever you do, don't think too small. And because of the work I'd already been doing, I had a very good idea of all the things that I wanted in my life. So, like, because you have 12 months, what things do you really want to attract that are most important for you that you'd love to happen this year? And again, don't dream too small. So I'm like, grab my manifesting pen, my Mont Blanc, and I get going. I don't know, maybe I have like 3 pages. And then we start, I don't know if I started, but these other girls the Zoom class, it was just girls coincidentally, but they were like, yeah, a better dog house for my pet, or I'd like an apartment, that's not so dark. I'm like, they're wilding. I put everything except a plane on my list. I put a new house. I put a Vogue cover. I mean, I read for maybe 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. I didn't feel crazy. Like, I didn't feel like, I mean, someone else might have been like, I'm asking for, a slightly larger apartment, and this girl's asking for like 3 houses.
But you get what you ask for,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and just feeling excited. And it's the end of the year. I don't remember the full document, but I do remember the big things. I didn't get that.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I didn't get them for 2021, but I'm very clear about the things that I want. And that's the most important part, getting the clarity, getting excited about it, not beating yourself up because it didn't happen, but really dream so big that you even taking a step in that direction feels empowering. But I think sometimes when you dream too small, you give yourself these deadlines and this pressure, and then you're like, I should have already known. How do you want your whole life to unfold? Like, what kind of magic do you want to see? Do you want to experience? Like, look at a big picture as beautiful and as spontaneous and as wonderful as you can. And then from there, let whatever happen.
Right. I love that. And, and I did some similar things. I think, in the past, I would, it's a little different because you're dreaming now. So I gave myself permission to dream, and I wasn't doing that before. But in the past, New Year's coming up, we set these goals, and I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to do this and do that. And then I get right into action, and you get motivated for a while, and then you start to fall off. And I think, so now I don't do that. I don't set my goals until I set my intention and I get into alignment first. And then I get into action. And that was different for me because it's a slower process. I can't say I'm going to make $1 million for the year if I'm not lined up with $1 million. If my head is still telling me that, I'm not enough, and I'm not smart enough, and I don't know these things, and I'm not computer savvy, and so I don't set those goals now. I set my intention. I align myself with those the intentions, and then I take action when I feel inspired to do that, which is it's very different than how I used to do it before, and it feels that sometimes it feels like I'm behind. But when I am aligned with things, it's magnificent. Let me see what else. I wrote some notes here. The other thing, and you mentioned this in the beginning, is I took baby steps and celebrated my success. So celebrating my success was not something that I was used to. I was used to focusing on all the shit that I needed to fix in my life. I need to fix this, and this is still not right, and I'm still behind on these things. And so now every day when I write in my gratitude journal, I also write what I feel successful about, and I celebrate my life, and I celebrate my successes so that I'm pouring more into what I feel good about than pouring into what I feel bad about.
What you just said about the success journaling is so powerful. When I started doing that, I would have maybe one or two or three things, and then I'd get like uncomfortable or annoyed because I realized the way I was measuring success was forcing me to minimize my success. You know, it was I wasn't acknowledging it. So I started to open the scope of what felt successful. Was it making certain phone calls? Was it giving myself grace? Was it keeping a promise to myself? And all of a sudden I realized, oh, I have so much more points for my success journaling than I originally thought. Yeah. It's not just chased after a check, earned a check, sold this today. It's more.
Yeah. And I too, when I first started, my head would tell me if I felt successful about things, it would be like, well, you really did do it all that great, or if I said I was going to, work out that day and all I did was walk for 10 minutes, I would be like, well, you couldn't really write that down. And I stopped, I see it on like social media a lot when they say, they want to stop me from being great. I wanted to stop myself from being great. I didn't want to write down things that I felt like, you had mentioned this earlier about things that, I should just be doing. I can't celebrate the fact that I, I went to work or whatever, but yes, I can actually celebrate that I showed up today, because the more I focus on what I I feel successful about, I maximize that instead of what the problems that I need to fix in my life. So I love that.
Yeah, my friend actually posted something like that the other day. She's like, I decide what I put on my to-do list. So on my to-do list was waking up and drinking coffee. So see that? I already got 2 points out. It's not even 9 a.m. yet. I thought that was fantastic.
I love that. Because you have to do that. I mean, our mind just, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, but my mind automatically goes to this stuff that I got to fix, I got to work on, I'm behind on, instead of, the things that I really would love to do. Like, I would love to get my hair done and I love to go for a walk, and, and how great was it that I got to have this great vacation? Like, that's not where my mind automatically goes to. I mean, it's more trained now, but in the past, it would just be like, oh, I still haven't lost this weight. And I still, I would focus on all this stuff, and it just made life just a struggle, it made it harder. So
100%. I'm the same way. I would justify doing something to myself so far as I thought it was related to my work. So if I needed to do my hair, it was because I needed to do it for work. If I needed to go buy something, piece of clothing, I needed to do it was because I needed it for work. I was doing the most for the actor, but I was always there like, who do you think you are? To me.
Yeah.
For real. I did that for the longest. So now I feel a lot more balanced in that. And I'm not making that separation. I'm in one.
I love that. And you know what? So the other thing too is that when we, that you don't want to give yourself to work. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying let's just lazy lie on the beach and you never do anything. I think it's really about doing work that you feel inspired by. But when you give so much to, whether it's your relationship or to work, and you don't give that to yourself, you become dependent on those things. And then when they don't work out, it's devastating, so you really have to learn to give to yourself before you give to those other things, so that when they don't work out, it doesn't feel like a failure. It feels more like a lesson, and you feel more guided. And that's not what was happening to me, years ago. I just, when there was some kind of obstacle, I just had to fight, I had to fix, I had to, I had to get into push mode. And now I just, I don't do that anymore. So, and it really has, I don't know, I just have way more peace in my life now. So love that.
Yeah. I don't want to do things that are, I think, I don't want to spend my time getting inside someone else's head. What do they want to see from me? Or what are they expecting from me? I want just be me, and let people who who are aligned with that, who see that and like that, to to come into my path. And especially with work, because trying to let me, I think for this audition I need straight hair, or that one my hair needs to look like this or whatever. I was doing what I don't want to do in real life at a heightened version for my work, instead of just being me and having fun with it, because most opportunities, don't lead to a booking, to work, but just having more fun with who I am, so I could be more of who I am, so I can enjoy more of my life, because otherwise, what am I doing this for?
Right. I agree. I think I had mentioned, when we talked about gratitude and success, the other thing too is, I'd always journaled, but I didn't always do a gratitude list. I used to try to do it at night and all that stuff, but it just was never consistent. And now it's consistent, like my meditation. And, it just helps me really focus on the great things in my life and what I appreciate. And, and because I make that a practice, that's the other thing that makes me feel blissful, because there's so many other things I can focus on. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and with other people in my life, and I have to really focus on what I appreciate, and what I'm in gratitude about, and so that I stay full. That's the practice of staying full and staying blissful. It sounds like, oh, I just got to get a book and write down 10 things. And it's so much more than that. It is mechanical like that when you first do it. But then when you don't do it, you really feel the difference. But also when you get into some kind of quicksand, some emotional quicksand, you already have that practice in place. So you bounce back a lot quicker when you have these habits that, bring you up the emotional scale instead of taking you down. So
something that helps with gratitude is the forgiving of yourself when you don't do, or you don't live up to the standards you've set for yourself. I think that's so important, to appreciate yourself despite how many times you get it wrong, how many times you do some really dumb shit, sabotage, all of that. Once you've done it, okay, it's all right. I'll do better next time. Maybe I won't, but I'll still love myself. It doesn't matter. I'm on my path. I'll get better and better at this. I think that's so important. And we do that for people that we love. We forgive them sometimes. I was about to say, we do that. Yeah, we do. Sometimes we do that. But it's
certain people.
Yeah, exactly. But when we start doing that more and more for ourselves, it really transforms everything and makes us more appreciative of our life, and changing how we speak to ourselves. Don't call yourself stupid. Don't, self-deprecating language doesn't help. Is what's if you're making jokes about yourself, check like what are the truths in these things that you say about yourself, because all this affects what you can be appreciative of and how you see yourself.
And I love that you said that, because I think it helps form your standards. When I'm used to calling myself names and whatever, then it becomes a joke when other people can do it or whatever. But I think the more that I'm loving on myself, and the more that I'm really mindful of the words that I'm using, I want other people to also use empowering words around me and not be mean to me. So I love that.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I'm like, bitch, and then I'm like, well, why did I do that? Instagram too long today, and she just kind of looked at me like, do you talk like that, Lisa? And I was so embarrassed, and she didn't say anything. I was just so conscientious to be very careful what I call people. It was just for fun, but still, not everyone wants to be called a bitch, even for fun. Don't call people names. It's okay. There's other words.
Right. Very true. Very true. Let's see, what else did I write down? I think the other thing I did was I became curious about my emotion instead of judgmental and wanting to repair it. So, whenever I was going through something, I wanted to read a book. I wanted to do this thing to fix it instead of just becoming really curious about my emotions. So if, somebody did something to me that made me upset, I would just be upset and then be like, I shouldn't even let this get to me, and but I never learned to understand what was happening to me, and take myself up the emotional scale. I didn't even know what the hell that was. And, you know, so I wasn't like, oh, you know, I'm feeling insecure because of this situation, like, because that felt made me feel powerless to say I was insecure. But I realize now that that's where my power is. It's in, acknowledging what I'm feeling and going, that's okay. It's normal to feel this way if this situation happened, and that's okay. But how do you, feel differently? How do you feel better? How do you stand in your power? That's not something that I used to do before. So that helps me not be dependent on other people to change. It allows me to, have my power and change the circumstance, and then decide what I want to do from there. That was the biggest shift, I think, for me to have a blissful life, is when I learned how to really look at my emotions and not reject them and not judge them, and just feel like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling, and how do I feel better? So
Yeah. For me, it was not living in the pain of the emotions, because I would just sit in that for a long time, and it would sometimes have to take like going to sleep and waking up the next day for me to just to have been able to release some of that. So wherever you are in that process, when you get hurt, finding ways to take care of yourself better, and release, and move forward.
I'm trying to think. So the other thing um, for me was my environment really matters. I need to be in an environment that I feel like I can flourish in, that supports, the self-care routine that I have. And, I had to leave an environment that wasn't, I didn't feel like I could grow in and I could become the best version of myself. And I felt a little guilty about that. And now I don't feel that guilt. I have to know that what makes me happy, what I need. And if the environment, and some people don't have that luxury where they can leave the environment, but sometimes there's just little pivots that you need to do so that you don't, so that your environment supports you. But I really had to find an environment that supports me. I realized that my home it has to be peaceful. It has to be relaxed. It can't be really busy, and it's got to be organized. Like, there's many things that I realize about myself that I need. And so now I give myself those things, and I make sure that my environment supports, my dreams and my goals and my bliss.
Finding that environment is so important. And even if you can't leave your town, you can create a space in your home for you. Make it look different, make it speak to you, make it more more connected to what you want in your life. And I think a lot of us, and I know for me, it's very uncomfortable when I have to challenge myself to level up to the next phase of my life, the next things that are calling me. It's so easy to stay where we're comfortable, but I think we're not allowing ourselves to be and have all the things that we're destined for when we kind of live in that fear or that suspicion of what can be, what's ahead for us. So I think it's super important to give yourself the freedom to see what is out there, to go for what you really want. It doesn't change. Sadly, if you ignore what you really want, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And it just keeps bothering you in different ways. Because when you notice that, answer that calling. I think I was talking to a friend this weekend, and I was just like, you can always go back to that life that you don't like right now. If you decide to do what you really want, and then you realize, you shouldn't have, guess what? Your boring, unsatisfying life will be there waiting for you. But give yourself permission first to be great, and to explore what that means for you, because there's nothing that feels more fulfilling than being on your path and doing the things that mean something to you, and feeling good about how you can do that thing that only you can do. More of that, more and more and more of that. And I think that's what makes us feel so blissful. And the other things, like the money, like the acknowledgement, all that, it can come or it might not, but it doesn't stop us from feeling bliss.
Love that. I love that. All of that. I think, when people think about following their bliss and going towards things that make them happy, they look at all the obstacles. How can I do it when I take care of people, or how can I do it when I have this job that I can't leave and I've got all these bills? But you're not going to be able to find a solution or how you can get towards it by looking at the obstacles. You have to go, this is what I want. So how can I create this life that'll get me closer to it? I remember, I don't know if it was a year and a half ago, I was like, I would love to have an RV and travel across the country. But I was like, I didn't know how that would actually manifest and how it would happen. But I just kept my eye on the goal, and each day, something happened that made it easier for me to do. So I just think that there are many things that I want to do, but I look at like, oh, I can't see how it's going to happen. But, I think that's where that faith is, and that where, we stay guided, and we got to focus on the things that, one of the things you mentioned earlier is you're saying, that clarity. You have to get clear first about what you want. And once you get clear, you can move towards it. If you're not clear about it, you only see the obstacles, you're never going to be able to get towards it. So.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like, someone would be like, oh, Sherelle's lucky. Sherelle just got lucky. She's so damn lucky. Her and her little lucky friends. Well, and no, but that's what people think. Like they think, I'd hear my whole life, someone was in a good relationship. Oh, they got lucky. Someone got a good job. Wow. Look at their luck. Everything is tied to luck. And but then we can't really believe it's just luck. Like, we have to believe that it's our destiny is supposed to be big and beautiful and filled with the things that we want. It's not just some people, just some selected lucky few out of the masses get to be lucky, and the rest of us, and I know society teaches us right when we start getting our education and our upbringing, that you just have to follow these rules and live this certain way. And it's not going to be great, but at least you're going to feel stability. You're going to feel, you're going to have, they throw words like security and, retirement and future, but don't let those words become weapons against who you want to be and the life that you want to live. You decide your level of luck. Your luck is you getting on your path. Your luck is believing that you can have that great relationship. You can travel, you can be healthy. You can live a long life. That's your luck, not this merda sorti. Sorti. This is the word. Oh, it's this sorti. That means it's that person's luck. My whole life.
I love Oprah, and she, I think it was her that she was saying, you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. And if you believe that it's not possible, you don't believe that you can have what you want, you don't believe that you can be happy, you're not gonna be able to successfully move towards it. So, you have to change your beliefs, and it's hard to change your beliefs when you've been believing something for so long. Sometimes you don't even know that, you have that, it's like, that subconscious belief that life is just supposed to be hard, and you're supposed to struggle, and you can't be happy because of these things. And you can always find a way to make yourself happy, and you let people off the hook when you make yourself happy. They don't have to do all this shit for you. They don't have to, jump around and become like circus clowns, in order for you to be happy. They can really just do life how they want to, and you can collaborate together. So.
Right. And you don't have to be so hard on yourself. Like, if you think you're unlucky, like, I came from an unlucky tribe of people, right? According to the way they talk, I should inherit a whole lot of unluckiness, right? But then if I decide, okay, how that affect me, I didn't think, here's the thing, I still had a lot of big hopes and dreams. However, how I treated myself really reflected that I believe that I couldn't really have all that stuff without, bullying myself and being really just cruel to myself, setting crazy deadlines, being upset at myself when I didn't accomplish things at that, at the way that I imagined it at the time I imagined it. So that, I realized, was tied to a lot of this stuff from my upbringing, and not believing that I was someone that could have that life that I, that I imagined for myself. So I think once you have some clarity, once you feel good, you can start to uncover, you investigate your life, and you start being able to let go of certain things, forgive yourself, forgive other people. But it's allowing that journey but it has to start from a good place, because if you're unhappy, and it's judgments, frustration, it's pain. But when you start to let yourself feel good, when you start letting yourself off the hook, you start feeling, okay, oh, I see that connection. I see why I'd speak to myself or my kids or my loved ones like this. Okay, let me unravel that further. You know what? I can let this go. I can cure those generational curses. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot more grace.
Love that. That's beautiful the way you said it. And I just think it elevates our spirit. When I was on the plane on my way back from Florida, I saw the movie Respect. Have you seen that?
Not yet. I was dying
Okay.
to see it.
I watched it, and it's a beautiful story, and I didn't realize that Aretha Franklin had gone through so much. It's just so just like with Maya Angelou and Oprah Winfrey, just really really tragic, traumatic things at a young age. And I see, the theme between all of it was that, there was no one around helping, these young folks to stand in their power and get through these emotional obstacles when things were happening to them. And, I feel like out of all this stuff that we're talking about, one of the things that helped me become more blissful is being able to get through emotional obstacles, so that when traumatic things happen, or I can resolve some of the trauma that's happened to me in the past, because I've been able to get up that emotional scale to stand in my power in these situations. And I didn't have those tools before, and having those tools are really, really important. So sometimes you have to go out and get a coach, you have to go to therapy, you have to do some things to teach yourself how to get through these things, so that you don't sit in in such emotional pain. So what I was talking about with Aretha Franklin is I didn't realize she had a heavy alcohol problem. Like, she was showing up on stage and they said she was in denial. But when you listen to her story, oh my gosh, it took me for a while. Wow. So, but she didn't have those tools growing up, and she grew up in a time when women were secondary and not, they didn't have a voice, and men were, violent against them, and just all kinds of things would happen sexually to them that, they weren't, so, then you start to feel like you don't deserve a good life. So this is about resetting your beliefs and standing in your power. And because if you're not in a blissful place, a lot of times it's because you feel like, life is against you, and you just got to get some new beliefs. So you should go see it. It was good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's on the top of my list. I remember what I was going to say before is when we were still talking about meditation. Sometimes I'll be meditating on something specific. I'm looking for something very clear about what I need to do next. But then something else will just come to me that almost seems like we're not talking about that right now. Yo, spirit. I have to ask you a question. Why are you giving me all this? Yeah, I'm not. What do you just trust yourself. Trust that you're gonna that you're gonna go down your path of least resistance, and trust that the things that are coming to you are gonna help heal you. That the things that bother you aren't gonna be there forever. That you have a choice. You can and what you were talking about with the finding how you can deal with the traumas, being able, knowing that, okay, it might take different things. It might take a combination of things. It might be having a coach, and you might have to do some retreats. You might have to do a series of things, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to enjoy your life, or you're going to suffer through it, or you have to put this period where it's just about your mental health or your spiritual well-being. No, it's while you live, you get better and better and better. And it doesn't end, and you're always going to be making adjustments and forgiving yourself and letting things go, and growing and healing on different levels. So that it just enhances your life. And someone said to me the other day because I had recommended therapy, and they were listening to me, and they were like, yeah, but I've resolved so much shit by myself.
What'd they say?
Okay. But I've just recently resolved so much shit by myself. Why would I need to go and talk to a therapist if I'm doing it by myself? And then I just stopped, because I said, I can't, I can't make someone else go and get some help if they don't want it. But there's, it's understand, we understand where we are. We do the best that we can. But inviting help into your life is not, doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you incapable. Sometimes you need someone who's unbiased to, help gear you in the direction that you really want to go in anyway. And you can always do something and be like, well, that wasn't for me, and you can stop. I had a therapist one time who told me that I've had a really, really hard life. She said, I was like, yo. And then she asked me if I could make like a family tree, because it was like a lot for her to understand. Yo, I stopped going. First of all, I was like, I got to make a family tree of like trauma. I'm not kidding. This person used to sexually harass that person. That one's a rapist. Like, are you really? I had to stop. But I understand that's not going to be your experience every time or anytime. What you have to do is just decide you're going to find your path of well-being. You're going to talk to the right people. You're going to give yourself chances. When something doesn't work, try something else. And at different times of your life, different things will work out. And that's it. I don't know if that just helped. When you play this back, if that sounds all crazy, like what? Just cut it out.
No, I think it is helpful, because I think, I've been to a few, well, I don't want to make it seem like I was crazy, but I went to a few therapists. I didn't have a problem going to therapy, but, I think therapy is just like anything else. Like, you got to be ready for it. Yeah. Also, the person that you're working with, if you're not aligned with them, there's not a good groove going on. The other thing too, and this is not to speak badly about therapy, but going back, I remember I had this therapist that had me talking to my inner child, and I was laying on the couch and talking to, she made me name her. Her name was Relly, and it just felt stupid. I felt like I need some things like right now. I don't need to go back and heal that little girl just yet. I need to just focus on the Sherelle that's here right now, instead of going back and dredging up all that crap. I just needed to figure out how to make myself happy now. And that's what I learned to do. I didn't have to go back and talk to my inner child. In fact, by me nurturing myself now and doing the things that make me happy now, I make that little girl happy that way, not by, going back and talking about my problems and all that stuff. That was my way. Everybody has a different way. And I don't think there's one way to do it. But I think some people are just, they're afraid to invest in themselves because they can't see how they can afford it. But, there's ways that you can do it. If you get creative, you can. You just got to figure it out. So I just think that, we have to put the investment into ourselves and not into all these other things. If you got to buy less clothes and less whatever, you can.
If you have to barter, if you have to clean someone's house, or walk their dog. I mean, I've heard crazy stuff from when people really decided they wanted a different life, that they someone told me they installed all the pipes and did all of the electricity work on someone's house. They could teach them how to use a computer.
Wow.
Yeah
See, so you can get creative, and and then that's how alignment works too, is that when you really want something and you focus on it and you walk towards how it can happen, it actually shows up for you. So, and it may not be in a form of a therapist. Maybe it's this podcast. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's something else, but there's other ways. I know Abraham Hicks helped me more than anything else. So I just wish I had her when I was younger. So,
yeah. And also it's not one and done. I did this great retreat. Okay, let me go back to my regular life. I listened to a podcast once. It was fire. Okay, no, this has to be like your life, like a regular. Just like you make time to to eat or sleep, you have to make time for your well-being.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So, in closing, what are like the top 3 things that they should start doing now?
Start having more fun. Whatever it takes, have more fun. You decide what that means. I'm always going to say start and really respect your rituals with your meditation. If you do your journaling, your mirror work, make that a part of your life. Get rid of timelines or anything that stands in the way of you feeling and accepting and being joyful with all that you've been blessed with.
Love that. Love that. And I would say, you got to adopt a new belief. And the new belief is that you deserve to be happy. I do think that having some habits that where you pour more into, your positive emotion, like meditation, journaling, is important. Whatever it is that you love. And I agree with Lisa, have some fun. I think we are so serious about life and we are not having fun. And I used to say, if I were to pass away and people were at my funeral, I don't want them thinking about the cars and clothes and shoes. Like I want them, to remember how I made them feel when I was around them. And I just think that, I just want life to be fun and joyful. And, it doesn't matter what you have, even if you have a beautiful home, if you're not fucking happy, I mean, what's the sense? So you have to focus on your joy. You have to focus on your fun. And I think as adults, we just become so fucking serious and we just need to be way more joyful. So
yeah. The only thing I don't like, you didn't include any science in there, but that's all right. That's all right. Janessa, we miss you.
Okay. Janessa, the frequencies and the vibrations, your brain has a lot of neurons and connections. I'm only kidding. We'll let talk about the science behind it. But we're here to be happy and we can create heaven on earth and there's no reason to just sit in sadness when we can reach for happy and a lot of times it's because we're doing what we have to do instead of what we love to do. So just one quick shift. Well, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
You. My joyful friends, that's our show. Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe and leave a review. Share this episode with someone you think would get some value out of it. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Bye-bye now.